Hello and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, season 12, PeaksChatz, The Return. I'm still Magellan, and hey, we're back with the second half of our discussion of the final two-parter of Twin Peaks: The Return. It's done. We're going to talk about the very end, and I'm still here with Alan. Hi, Alan.
Hello, I'm here, and I'm on fire for the entire podcast, surrounded by flames.
Great. Fire pod with me, of course. Woof! And Ryan. Hey, Ryan.
My neck is very long. I have a hat, and I just want to eat pancakes.
Thank you for putting the visual aid in the chat as you said that.
Had to.
What a complete image you've created. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for that moment of levity, because we're about to talk about when I said in the first half that this finale was challenging, I was mainly talking about part 18, even though part 17 had parts to that as well. Where do we start? What do we think? What's on our minds here going into part 18 discussion?
Dougie home.
Yes. Great. Done. Episode's over. Dougie's home.
Such a good start to such a sad episode. Such a good start. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My real answer is depression, spelled with a P that's mixed up as a B. Because I had to distract myself with some games because I couldn't go to sleep if I had just watched this and then tried to go to bed.
I straight up got depression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also could not sleep.
Yeah, it put me in a funk. I had to go for a walk and get my laundry and do all this stuff, and it was a couple hours before I was out of it. It was not pleasant.
And you mentioned that this is not a good episode to go out for a walk at night after also.
No, there's a lot of rattling like traffic lights in the wind. And that's a little disturbing.
I don't really feel like talking about it, guys. I'm going to call it. I'm usually I have a quote here from Scanline Media. Alan is quote, this was like as part of their yearly wrap up. They wrote this about me. So nice. And I literally printed it and it's on my wall. Alan is better known as half the duo over at Chats, a television podcast, alongside their friend Magellan. A hard-working font of earnest optimism, Alan is a frequent guest due to their ability to brighten a room and bring passion to an endeavor, which is so nice. But I don't know if I can bring that tonight because this episode is so real. I don't know what the ideal adjective is.
And
but
maybe it is real. Who can say?
Whoa.
I think part 18 really, really underlines finally what the show is about. It confirms a lot of suspicions we have. It answers enough questions to be satisfying, but leaves enough things open that there are a lot of interpretations. So going into it, especially now, folks, if you haven't watched the episodes already, please watch them before you listen to us talk about them, because literally most of the fun of watching David Lynch stuff, and in some ways media in general, is making your own interpretation. And we're going to interpret some images. So make your own before you come here. And then hear ours, because we have thoughts. It's just... Cooper starts the episode. Bad Cooper begins the episode in the Black Lodge, surrounded by flames. Just bad CG fire. And it's, a rebirth because Mike creates a brand new man out of the remains here. There's a moment when Dougie, he says, like, "Where am I?" or something.
Where am I? Oh.
And I was like, I finally feel like Kyle MacLachlan's playing a different person. Like that doesn't sound like Cooper. That sounded like a dude. Where am I?
Dougie Jones.
And it's the only thing I've ever heard the quote unquote the real Dougie Jones say.
No, he said stuff in part 3.
Right. Before
he said, "This is weird."
I feel like this isn't even that Dougie anymore. This is like just a whole new, nice. I hope it's not that Dougie, because that Dougie seemed like kind of a lame guy.
That Dougie came from the bad coop. This one is coming from the good coop.
Right. And he's just like an affable, like, "Oh, okay. Hey, what's up, kid?
Where am I?
Wife, how are you?
Hello, goodbye, wife.
Goodbye, wife.
Hello, wife. Honey, I'm home." So that's one of two homecomings in this episode, and they could not be more different in tone.
You're a villain,
I would
Joe.
say. I mean, listen, I say that partly as a joke and partly because, okay, can I like, well, maybe we should lay out the specifics of the episode, but I have some big brain takes.
Okay.
But I can wait. Until we say what actually happens.
Which is?
Literally the next thing I wrote down in my notes was, is it future or is it past? So you tell me.
We get the Cooper,
We're in the red room, right?
we get the Cooper and Laura scene again.
Yeah.
And then Cooper looks over his shoulder and he's back in the red room.
Right. And we're back with Mike. We're talking to the arm again. The arm asks, is this the story of the little girl who lives down the lane?
Yep.
Which that's what Charlie and Audrey were talking about. That's where we heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, oh my God. That's so scary when the arm said that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, he goes, is it the story of the little girl who lives down the lane? Is it? And then the music starts blaring. I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening, but it's scary.
Is Audrey going to come to the Black Lodge? Like, what's that? Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
Why did he say that?
Well, I think how I interpreted that was this sort of question of like, who is Twin Peaks: The Return about, or like, who is this mission of Cooper's about? Like, was it about Laura, but also like the little girl who lives down the lane isn't who Laura was. It's who people imagined Laura to be. And so it's asking us to think about like, who is Twin Peaks about? And when we're trying to like return to and resolve that story, what are we bringing to that? What are the expectations that we have that are like wrongfully conceived? And to an extent, I think Cooper is an audience surrogate, but also like opposed to us or really opaque to us, because in some ways we are like Cooper in the sense that we're trying to like bring resolution to this old story that can't really resolve, but also we're unlike Cooper in the sense that he behaves in ways that feel unnatural to us. So that's what I got from that question.
I have more to say about that. But keep that thought in mind of like Cooper being us in a way, looking for resolution where there is none. Because in a way, that's what this episode is, and that's what the season is, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to keep coming up. But before we get there, Cooper, is asked.
We get a
by
recap of part 2 from here on. Leland.
We meet back
get
up with our
Leland.
good friend, Ray Wise.
who tells him to find Laura. His cheeks are not stuffed up this time. He still looks very uncomfortable, but he's like not. He doesn't look like he's gonna burp or whatever you said back then.
And this is what he said in that episode as well. He said, "Find Laura," so he's saying,
Laura.
"Find Laura" again.
Cooper
Is it
finds.
future or is it past?
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Could this be a different future where Laura lives? Who could say? He sees some curtains billowing, and it's like a video game where he goes, "That's the objective." And goes through
Fucking
it.
does the force on those curtains.
Yeah, he like waves his hands at the curtains. It's weird. It's really weird. Diane waits for him outside of Glastonbury Grove and says, "Is it really you?" And he says, "Is it really you?" And then they proceed to go on a fun friend road trip. No, it's not. It's not so fun. It's a very sad, quiet, pensive road trip.
Diane is constantly like, "Do you really want to do this?"
Are you sure? Are you sure this is a good plan that you have? He's like, I am.
We're in a desert. Coop is driving exactly 430 miles.
430.
Yeah. He gets out of the car. He like examines the electricity thing. He looks
Beautiful shot.
He looks very hot in this shot, I must say. He looks really good.
It's the confidence. It's the like, yep, we're in the right place.
He gets back in the car.
Diane says you don't know what it's going to be like, and also they say once we cross, it can all be different.
Yeah, Cooper says, "Kiss me." Once we cross, it can all be different.
Yeah.
It seems like that's like we're crossing into the other reality or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
We
so.
have to go a certain distance in order for the change to take effect.
Yeah.
But it seems like Cooper expects we're going to be in the present that's affected by the change that I made or whatever, as opposed to we're going to go to a totally alternate reality where everybody's names are different and it's weird there.
Maybe.
I'm going to go to a different reality. But the similarities become really, again, I keep saying this word, but really uncanny because he starts to recognize things. First, we get to a motel where a lot of challenging things happen. Sorry, I'm really struggling here, y'all. It's just a tough one.
Well, so we arrive at the motel. Cooper goes in to book a room or to get a key. Diane's in the car and sees herself
Yeah.
by the door. And that, I mean, we already get the sense that something's off.
Yeah, Diane is like unsettled throughout the entire thing.
Throughout
from
the whole
word
thing.
Go.
Right. And then this is a moment that's really disturbing because it makes us question, why is Diane seeing herself? Is that just sort of like a vision that she's having? Is there another Diane there? Is she the real Diane? It brings a lot of questions to mind of sort of who is she? How does she perceive herself? Who is Cooper? How does she perceive Cooper? What's going on here? And I think it does a lot to put us in Diane's headspace as we go into the motel room. And the interaction that they have involves Diane going into the room. Cooper says to turn off the light. And then she says, okay, now what? And he says, now you come over here. And they start to kiss. And we move into a scene where they're having sex with each other. But it is much different from the last time that we saw Cooper have sex, which is, it's interesting to see that, like, the jokey, Dougie arms flapping sex scene. It turns out that that had like a thematic reason to exist, to show you like that's one way that sex looks when we have this sort of like totally innocent character. And now look at how this scene is portrayed, how Laura Dern is approaching this scene and how Kyle MacLachlan is approaching this scene. And clearly it is extremely re-traumatizing for Diane. Yeah. And Cooper, Kyle MacLachlan is making the bad Cooper face the whole time. And you're watching it like, holy fuck.
Yeah, the scene eventually ends with Diane crying and Diane just like completely covers Cooper's face.
Yeah. And she can't look at him the whole time. And
you can't even see Cooper at a certain point. It's just Diane's face covering him.
Yeah.
Crucially, My Prayer by the Platters starts playing, which is the song from the end of part 8, which plays, fades, and comes back just to really remind you, like, hey, you've seen stuff like this before, and it doesn't always go well.
This is also meant to recall, like, part 1 as well, when the monster shows up after they start having sex.
Yeah. Yep. With the two teens.
You have to think about that as well. Mm-hmm.
Right. It seems like they're trying... In Cooper's mind, this is like we're summoning Judy, in a way, but also like he misses Diane and cares about Diane. And so there's like a attempted positivity from Cooper here of like this version of me is doing it consensually and cares about you, but like she can't separate that from the other Cooper, the same Cooper, the different version of him that did this not consensually. And so no matter how much it feels like he's doing a thing and they're playing this like nice song, this doesn't feel right. This isn't like healthy, good sexual intercourse here.
Right.
And doesn't feel like it's cathartic in the way that you want, or that you think you want. Over and over again, Cooper attempts things in this episode, thinking to himself, this is what people want, right? I'm doing the thing you guys want. Like Diane and I are going to have like normal sex this time. And it's going to be so good. Or I'm going to save Laura and it's going to be so good. Or I'm going to save Carrie Page. And he just wants to save people and do the things that people think are going to be happy and good. And they never are.
Yeah. And I think something that really stuck with me that I didn't mention when we talked about part 17 is when he sees Diane again for the first time. He asks her if she remembers everything, and she says yes. And he has this look of like, I feel bad about that, but also this was part of the plan or something. Like, it almost feels like he willfully allowed for what happened to Diane to happen to her as a part of whatever the design is or whatever the plan was to get to this point. And he's not like really taking any sort of responsibility for that or being cognizant of what Diane is bringing into this interaction between the two of them. And I think for me, it sort of raises the question of like, when you see Bad Cooper's expression on his face, is that Diane is seeing that? And that's like on top of whatever face he's actually making? Or are we really truly seeing through Cooper's exterior to some part of him that's fundamentally like lacking empathy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was something that really stuck with me. Just the way that he reacted to Diane having memories of what happened and was like sort of willfully ignorant of that throughout his interactions with her up to this point.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that, just because like they kiss for an entire minute and it's completely consensual.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, that scene is definitely played as like, we're all back. Cooper is like beaming. Diane is like so happy that Cooper's back. And then in this episode is very like subdued. And the moment that Diane asks, like, is it really you? And Cooper goes, yes, it's really me. Is it really you? That's when it just feels off.
Right.
This doesn't feel like the Cooper we know. This feels like another personality even.
Right.
Well, and I read this episode as a full scope deconstruction of Agent Dale Cooper and like what he wants to do, what he tries to do, and why he tries to do it, for better or for worse, in addition to what the audience expects from him. And so I think there's a part of him that is just doing this out of like the need to go to find Judy. So that is what, in part, what I think Diana realizes when she gets up the next day and leaves him. And in my head, I'm reading this as she knows he only brought her here for this moment. She's like, okay, Richard, that's the end of it with us. Don't come find me. You're beyond the pale now. There's no part of the Cooper that I thought in my head that I want to be with anymore.
She says, whatever we had is over. I don't know you anymore.
Right. And it's like, he didn't change.
So sorry, you're saying that that him having sex with her is part of looking for Judy?
That's how I read it.
What's
leading that to that reading? I'm curious.
Part of this is clarified in the Frost books as well. But something that attracts, it's theorized that something that attracts Judy is the act of having sex.
Right. That's why she was there in episode 1.
In episode 1, like, they have sex and then Judy appears, assuming that what we're looking at is Judy. Anyway.
Right.
And it is assumed, popular theory that they have sex so that they can get closer to Judy. And this is partly supported by the fact that Dale wakes up and leaves the apartment and it's a different place entirely.
Exactly. And it goes to the first place he goes to is he's in Odessa, Texas now, and he finds the coffee shop called Eat at Judy's. So it's, in his mind, it's like, okay, good, it worked. The thing that I wanted to get out of this interaction with Diane was to find Judy, and she's here. She's showing up in the world, whether it's as an actual being or as the name on a restaurant.
Huh.
We should mention the Richard and Linda thing real quick.
Right. She signs the letter as Linda.
Here's the payoff for Richard and Linda.
Mm-hmm. It
Two
was
birds
them.
with one stone. Yeah.
Bingo.
I have a
Oh,
yeah.
he did say two birds with one stone. Also, I forgot about that.
Yep. Yeah, it's really frustrating that the things that it pays off are just bookends for this show.
Yeah, it's all
Right.
part one stuff.
Part 1
Right.
and part 2 they pay off in part 17 and 18. Almost like this whole thing is a wrapper around a whole different story.
Exactly.
I have a funny behind the scenes about this.
Please.
Richard and Linda is a David Lynch thing. He never told Mark Frost what it means or what his intentions were with it.
Fantastic.
So Mark Frost just doesn't know what Richard and Linda is.
Perfect. Your co-creator.
I'm finding like myself completely disinterested in all of the Judy stuff. Like
Yeah.
I just don't
Yeah.
care.
I agree. It's not worth caring about. That's why
Like,
whenever
to
I
me-
see theory videos that are like, here's what Judy was up to, it's like, you missed it. You fucking walked right over the show. You jumped over it.
Like to me, saying, I mean, it makes lore sense that there's this sex scene that he wants to have sex with Diane to move towards Judy or whatever. But to me, it's like much more compelling to think of Dale Cooper as like fundamentally misguided and misunderstanding
Yes.
how his actions affect the world and
yeah.
thinking that he's moving into like a world where he fixed everything and then he wakes up and he's like, Richard, huh? I'm in a whole different shit. What the fuck?
Well, this is very much like the Twin Peaks thing of we have to satisfy the lore nerds and we have to tell our metaphor, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, like that is just what's happening when we talk about, like, at the end of the day, I don't care that Dale Cooper and Diane having sex means that they summon the god demon or whatever. What I care about is Diane in that moment,
Right.
covering Cooper's
Yeah,
face, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mention that more
But-
as like, yeah.
We just have to mention the lore stuff because it is happening.
Well, and I think, Alan, to your point, it does support the characterful thing of Cooper is like completely dissociated from his effect on people and is like being manipulative and abusive. So I think
he's very like ends justify the means.
Yes, yes.
yeah.
The next two scenes really like make that so clear that like this Cooper knows the final goal and knows that he wants to get there, and whatever woman has to be stopped or hurt or ignored, neglected on the way there doesn't matter. Which like that's been Cooper. That's just how like I'm not to say like actually the original Cooper in the original series was a misogynist and we didn't realize it, but like I don't know. This character has always been
He
like
was.
Right.
That is the case.
I mean, like this is like Cooper taking Laura Palmer, Carrie Page, whoever one you call her, and taking her home. Like that is just what he did to Ronette, like to a T.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the reason I'm leaning into the actual what's happening stuff is because I'm trying to summarize the episode. But I also agree 100%, just to be clear, that the symbolism here and the emotion of what's happening to Diane is what's the like value.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to, I don't mean to put it on you. I'm saying like what you're saying makes sense, and it makes sense to me that it was rendered in that way on purpose, and I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
I think you are accurately interpreting things.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say like you're saying something that doesn't make sense.
I appreciate
And
that.
to be fair, like David Lynch leaves enough room that like what we are saying and what is the popular theories could be bullshit.
Completely.
But it's because we have the Mark Frost books
we have some answers.
that say, hey, sometimes evil demons are conjured by sex magic.
Yeah.
Is how we get to, you know, Cooper and Diane summon Judy.
I mean, that's like
Because-
80s horror movie shit, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just like
Right.
we summon Freddy Krueger by being horny teens. It's exactly
And
that.
And like at the end of the day, like even though it doesn't feel like it, Mark Frost is still a co-writer here. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, we're gonna get both like the metaphor and the story reason for why it's happening, right?
Like when I watch Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive, I struggle deeply to like linearly summarize things because Lynch like doesn't care about doing that. But when you watch Twin Peaks, you're like, okay, well there are textually things that are happening, but I don't have to care about them. I can choose not to care about them.
Yeah.
Things are not going well at Eat at Judy's. An interesting detail I noticed is you have a lot of signs that things are different in this world. For example, just a small one, and I might be overthinking here. A big audio cue associated with Twin Peaks is the sound of the steamboat always in the background. The first thing that Cooper hears when he gets to Eat at Judy's is a train whistle, suggesting that things are the same but not the actual same. Like they're just a little bit wrong. Why is there a train whistle instead? And once again, Cooper attempts to protect a woman who he has no business engaging with here, because a woman is being sexually harassed by a bunch of men in a diner, and he decides to be like a super cop shitty guy here and like shoot one of them in the foot and like disarm one of them. And this is just absurd, right? Like you can't support Cooper here. You're not meant to, but it feels really rough being like, yep, this is what we got after 16 episodes of not having Cooper. Now he's back, and what he does is he disarms a bunch of guys and puts their guns in the french fry oil. Like,
And he moves with the assurance and the violence of the doppelganger. Like how swiftly he shoots the guy in the foot and disarms the guys and then puts things in the deep fryer. It's like, oh God, okay. Yeah, I guess you are capable of those things.
Do you guys know who the actress is for the waiter?
I do not.
It is Clint Eastwood's daughter.
Whoa.
Which is fascinating because this is what Cooper
He's doing some Clint Eastwood shit right now.
This is Cooper's character right now. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Francesca Eastwood. Wow. True.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
Damn, she's our age. What the hell? Sorry. Wow, I had no idea. That's interesting.
I think everything that Cooper does in the last two episodes here can be represented by the metaphor of putting loaded firearms into a fryer and not knowing if they're going to explode as a result.
But not caring.
True, yeah.
Like acknowledging it and going, yeah, it's probably going to, you never know. Could totally shoot. It could totally discharge. You deal with it. Bye.
Yeah.
I've done what I need to do here.
The small detail that I couldn't believe was here was Cooper taking out the thing and going like, where does this go? What do you do with this? And she's just like, you hang it up on the thing. I'm like, Cooper, what?
Yeah, so it's really just showing you like that you feel this anxiety of like, this is the Cooper that I've been waiting for all this time, and look what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots like a dude in a foot.
Yeah. And everyone's like, what the hell is going on? So he gets the address of the woman he's looking for. It's Cheryl Lee, everybody, and she's
critically. The waitress hesitates on giving Cooper the address, and Cooper says, "It's okay. I'm with the FBI."
Woof, spooky.
Which I love.
Yeah,
as
it's
a
awesome.
Counterpoint to Part 16.
Right, I am the FBI. Yeah.
Right. It's like it's
So
okay. I'm the FBI.
Let me just like completely ruin your state of like your place of work, and then like justify it by saying I am the FBI.
Yeah. A lot
as
of
a counterpoint to like waking up from being in a David Lynch movie and saying I am the FBI in the triumphant moment.
Yeah.
It's super interesting.
And he uses that a lot. Like when he meets Cheryl Lee, who's playing a woman named Carrie Page, who he mistakes for Laura Palmer. Outside of her house is a utility pole with the number 6 attached to it. We've seen this before, I guess, or we've seen something like this. Everything just feels like uncanny. Again, uncanny. He goes inside the house and sees things that feel like Laura's house, but it is not Laura's house. There's like, isn't there like a white horse on the mantle or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bananas.
There's a dead body.
She's like, I guess you're like, why would she ever be okay with? Because he asks her like, hey, I need to take you across the country on a journey with me to a place that I don't think you actually belong, but I'm going to take you there because I think maybe you are. And she's like, I guess I need to get away from the law for reasons. And we pan over and there's a fucking dead body shot in the head.
Yeah, anybody noticed a Garmin Bosia on his shirt?
No, stop it.
He has a Garmin Bosia on his shirt, guys.
Oh, oh God.
Just a little bit, just a smudge.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was honey mustard. Oh.
Imagine if that's what Garmin Bosia was. It's just
Chick-fil-A
honey mustard.
sauce.
It's evil now. Yeah.
It's homophobic Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah.
So we never really know what happened to that guy. She did something. She probably killed that guy. So she needs to get away.
Probably just a shitty dude, and she killed him.
She's in a bad situation, and he
honestly braver than Shelley.
Yes, right, right. This is a different version of that. Tell me if you've heard this before. Agent Cooper, Kyle MacLachlan rescues Cheryl Lee from a situation that, he's like systemic issue that he can't simply rescue her from, and thinks that he's a savior here. This already happened. And so then we get a fascinating use of the episode's time where...
Wait, can I just say real quick, I really like the line where, like, Carrie Page was like, do I need a coat? And Cooper's like, yeah, it's up north. I would grab a coat if you have one. And then she comes back and she's like, I don't have any food. And Cooper's like, we'll get food on the way there. And she's like, all right, let's go.
No more questions. You've satisfied all my needs.
Yeah, I thought that was super charming.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to see Cheryl Lee be a character. Get to talk and be an adult character. It's great.
Yeah. So we spend all this time driving, and the whole time that this is happening, I'm wondering, what is Dale Cooper's fixation with bringing this woman who he thinks is Laura Palmer, quote unquote, home? Like, why is that the thing that he needs to do? And I think that fundamentally is what distanced me the most from him and disturbed me the most, is that his mission was not just, I'm saving Laura Palmer's life. It's, I'm saving Laura Palmer and bringing her back to the Palmer household, which was like the site of all of the horrible things in her life. And what...
It's
all he says to her is, it's very important. That's it.
Two crucial things here. I think one, the question of why does he want her to go back so badly is also the question the show is asking, is why do you guys want to go back so badly?
Right. Right.
What do you think going back is going to accomplish? Oh, that's, the 101 reasoning. Two crucial things happen here that are really subtle. Number one, Carrie Page tells him things aren't going well. Are you the police, or are you did you hear about the body? He basically ignores her because he's like, I have a thing for you to do. I don't care about what's going on in your life and what problems you're dealing with. I need you to fix my problems and do what I'm telling you to do, which is like so exactly what Cooper is doing through all of this, and just really subtle. And then number two is when they're actually driving, both of them get really paranoid that somebody's following them, and it's not anybody. They just see car lights come by and they think, is that guy chasing us? In fact, it's just another car on the highway.
Could be Judy.
It could be Judy. Yeah, I guess it could be Judy.
You look at anything hard enough and you're like, it could be Judy. I don't know.
Judy's on a motorcycle. Vroom.
I think Billy's Judy.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. That's why Lynch doesn't want to talk about it. Does not answer.
Yeah. One thing that we skipped over is that Cooper mentions that, she asked her if she's Laura, and then he brings up Sarah, and Sarah's name triggers something in her.
Watching Cheryl Lee's eyes here, you can see what things activate her brain a little bit.
She kills it here, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
She's incredible.
It's not that much talking either. It's a lot of just straight up acting. So they eventually arrive at, they have there's a not long nighttime drive, really long. I cannot emphasize enough. We see a lot of this drive, and it's quiet.
Stop for gas.
They stop for gas, probably some snacks. This is a long drive. They're driving from Texas to Washington State.
Bro, I remember in 2017 looking at my watch and going, there's 15 minutes left. What the fuck are we doing?
Right. What's the show doing right now? Hold on. While we talk, I'm going to just punch in Odessa, Texas, and then do Snoqualmie Falls, Snoqualmie Pass, Washington.
Oh my God, please, yeah.
The driving distance here is approximately 1 day and 3 hours. This is 1,800 miles.
They don't
Wow.
even stop at a hotel.
Wow. They're
They
just
drew it.
straight driving through.
It's about 27 hours if you left right now. Yeah. Damn.
Wow.
Maybe it's like Death Stranding where it's like an abbreviated version.
Right. They shrunk the map. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just Twin Peaks: The Return. It's just like Death Stranding. God. We get back to Twin Peaks. We drive by a couple of iconic places. The show has no time to focus on them. We're almost done here.
No. Double R, who gives a shit?
Don't care. Who is she?
Fuck that.
And I put my phone away here and stopped taking notes because I think this scene is one of the most incredible scenes ever put to television.
Yeah.
Cooper asks her if she recognizes the house. She looks at it and says no.
Nope. They arrive at the Palmer home. Cooper knocks on the door several times. A strange woman answers. I have the fun trivia here. If you read Laura's Ghost, you know the fun trivia here. This is the actual owner of that house, who was asked by Sabrina Sutherland if you want to be in the show. She had never acted before in her life. I'm not trying to be mean here, but you can kind of tell she's never like done acting before. She's never been in front of a camera because she's just like, "Hello, it's okay. I'll ask my husband." Like she's like very stilted.
I think that's intentional.
It has to
but
be. No,
we'll
it
get
certainly is. Yeah. He's trying to figure out what is this reality? Like, what's the specific nature of this reality here? Who did they buy the home from? Well, it was a Mrs. Chalfont. And you're like, wait, I know that name. What is your name, miss? And she says, my name is Alice Tremond, which is the other name for Mrs. Chalfont.
Yep.
And Cooper and Carrie Page walk away from their home and they're like, well, fuck.
Well, that happened.
I guess we don't know what it was.
And then famous last words by Dale Cooper. He says, what year is this? He sort of has his arms extended out, or like his one arm extended out as like he's trying to like summon the curtains or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's winded almost also. Like he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's
fuck.
just like confused and lost. We focus in on Laura's face as we hear Sarah Palmer yelling for Laura from the pilot of the original series.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
This triggers everything for Carrie Page. She has this moment of remembrance as she screams at the house, and then the lights go out on the house, and we hear the reverberations of the scream as the screen is black. We fade up on a slow motion shot of Laura whispering to Cooper from earlier in the season. We linger on it for way too long, and as if to say, "You'll never know." Star calling McLaughlin.
Credits.
Show's over.
Not to be too glib, but you wrote in our chat, Ryan, you're not going to tell me what she said, and that's what this moment is.
To me, so this credit sequence is a stroke of genius, because what is the thing that David Lynch and Mark Frost hated about the original Twin Peaks is that they had to reveal who the killer was.
Right.
And
right.
Laura whispered to that in Cooper's ear. So, of course, what is the end of Twin Peaks is Cooper whispering in Dale's ear something that disturbs Cooper, and we don't get to hear what it is.
Right.
And it probably has something to do with this.
Right.
They finally got to have their ambiguous ending that they didn't get to have before. You're not supposed to know what happened here. Let's go around the table. So, Ryan, what's your interpretation of the lights going out and Laura remembering? What's the thematic and literal interpretation here?
Literal interpretation is Cooper is expecting Sarah because Sarah is Judy, or has the spirit of Judy in her in some way, as we saw earlier in the season. Instead, we get kind of a front. I think Judy is planning the Tremont and Chalfont thing, because obviously we hear Sarah later. I just think Judy is toying with Cooper at this point.
Right. Judy was behind that door all along, just like before when we saw Sarah.
Because like you said, the dialogue is very stilted. She's talking to somebody else. Somebody else is telling her what to say.
Yeah.
So that just feels intentional to me, 100%. And then, Laura's screaming. She just remembers the trauma that she experienced. The lights going out. I honestly don't have it changes depending on the day. because either Laura, remembering and screaming, it either kills Judy and the show is saying that the end didn't justify the means, or it didn't kill Judy and it's just a bad ending anyway. But those things kind of don't matter. What the show wants you to feel is that Cooper did a terrible thing,
Right.
and the world is worse off because of it. And once again, Laura and Cooper's future is unknown, and maybe they're just gone forever. The lights go out on this world, and we don't know what happens afterwards. Yeah.
John, thoughts, feelings?
While watching this episode, I was not under the impression that Cooper knew that there was a connection between Judy and Sarah. And so I understood him trying to bring Laura home to Sarah as a much more narrow-minded, misguided, I'm saving you. I need to complete the act of saving you for my own satisfaction that I've succeeded, and so I'm going to bring you home to your mom and set the world right in my eyes. And everything around him is telling him we're not in that world anymore. That's not something that you can do or should want to do. And he's misunderstanding what the act of going home means for Laura Palmer. And I think it connects to Cooper's fundamental misunderstanding from back in Fire Walk with Me when he encounters Laura in a dream and she sees the ring and he urges her not to take it. And then the ring ends up being a part of how Laura escapes at the end of Fire Walk with Me and ends up having a moment of liberation, even though that liberation is tied with her death. There's a sense of release at the end of Fire Walk with Me that Cooper was trying to steer her away from and physically takes her away from in this to set the world in the image that he wants it to look like. And so since I wasn't thinking that he knew that there was a connection between Judy and Sarah, it's much more about Dale Cooper as someone who thinks he understands what he's trying to do, but doesn't fully understand the ramifications of those decisions or how they impact other people. And so in that case, it's as simple as returning home is not this sort of right thing. It's a re-traumatizing experience for Laura Palmer that's submitting her to these memories and horrors that she was separate from, for the sake of Cooper feeling like he did a good job. And so her screaming and the lights going out, to me, all signifies her returning to that darkness that has always existed in that home.
Well said. Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I think on a literal level, this is just Cooper failing again. And he's in a dimension where he thought I tweaked enough things and I fixed it. I thought that I made it right this time. It's the same thing on a meta level as fans saying, if Laura had just X, Y, Z'd, she would have been alive. And it's well, guys, look what happens when you save Laura. The trauma doesn't go away. The evil doesn't go away. The systemic problem of abuse doesn't disappear when you pull the person out of the house. There's always evil in the house, and that doesn't, you can't wish that away or be positive and nice enough and hope that disappears. And in a way, that's what this final scene is saying, is like, what did you think was going to happen? It still didn't work. Judy's still out there. Now Cooper and Carrie Page are in a universe that is all dark, and they have to do it again and again and again and again, and it's never going to work. That's my like cynical but I think reasonable take here. And that's why it was such a bummer to me. It's like, well, then why are we doing any of this? Like this episode really makes you feel like, well, then why did we watch 18 episodes of this, and what to what benefit? But I think I love that it's challenging in that way, you know?
I think the other thing that I'm taking from this particular scene and the line, "What year is it?" And returning to Laura whispering in Cooper's ear, it's all tied up in, is it future or is it past? This thing of like, you know, this isn't just a series of like A to B to C to D to E to F, like strict linearity that you can manipulate and sub out one event for another event. Like there's some aspect of our existence as human beings that is kind of detached from time, and like it's not just something that you can fiddle with and like change the timeline. There are certain things that are like persisting and that now Cooper and Laura are like stuck in almost.
Right.
And in a way, like who maybe Cooper's like repeating certain actions or like is trying to save her in different ways and failing in different ways. Maybe that's what Laura tells him, and that's what scares him so much, and he's like acting in denial of that truth. I don't know. There's some sort of like metaphysical time stuff going on here too.
I guess the one that I haven't been able to fully, I like your explanation of it, but I think what year is it is just such a dense, like meaning packed line that I can't settle on one explanation for it. Because on one hand, it's like you realize, just from an emotional perspective, what year is it? Is him being like, oh shit. It's like you saying like, what time is it? Like I missed my appointment or something. Like, did we go to the wrong place? Are we in the wrong year? Like you could feel it like that. But also like, yeah, what year is it? It's 2017, dog. Like it's not 1995 anymore. We're not in Twin Peaks anymore. We're not in like this idyllic, nice version where we don't know what happened. We know what happened. We saw Fire Walk with Me, and we watched 18 episodes of this. So you can't keep pretending that we go back to the Palmer household and everything is fine. Move on, you know?
Do you think part of Dale going back in time to try to undo everything is him trying to reclaim the 25 years that he lost?
I think a part of this season is definitely about like the anxiety around aging. And the stress of like feeling like a lot of your life has passed you by, or that there's been like a gap in your life that you can't understand. Yeah. Cause
like, do you think two birds, one stone means he gets to save Laura and he gets to actually like
live his 25 years.
The life that he was robbed by being in the lodge?
I like that interpretation. Yeah.
I initially read it as he gets to save Laura and defeat Judy, but I think that's just a really simple version. I like yours a lot
but
more.
he's doing that like by defeating Judy and like the source of all evil. He is making it so at a certain point in a timeline, he gets to live out like his life normally.
And it's like you can't, dude. You can't have those 25 years back. We don't just get those back by putting on the outfits and talking about the coffee and the donuts and all that stuff. Like,
yeah. And like essentially like part 16, he wakes up, he could just like have a family.
Yeah.
And settle down.
Right.
But he's not content with that.
Right.
He could have just walked out of that sheriff's office and moved into Twin Peaks like he said he was going to, and lived a happy life with Diane even. And
yeah.
he was like, nope.
Here's what I think is so fascinating about the like going back in time stuff and all of this. There's it made me realize that like as an audience member watching The Return, I didn't have a sense of what I was expecting this to lead to necessarily. It's like, okay, Cooper's going to come back probably, and we probably got to defeat this bad Cooper. And beyond that, it's like, okay, that's the resolution, right? That we've got Cooper's back and bad Cooper's gone. And there's these questions about doppelgangers or Bob is the woodsman, Judy. Okay, maybe we're going to do some lore stuff. There are things that you could look back on and see as like foreshadowing this notion of meddling with time or going back in time. But Cooper like opening the door and walking into original Twin Peaks, that's such a what the fuck moment of like, that's your plan? Why is that the thing that you've been like ruminating on and trying to do? And I think it's just really interesting to watch a TV show that spends 16 episodes doing all this other stuff only for this guy who we think is the main character to show up and kick the door down and like have a different plot that doesn't follow from what we've been watching.
Yeah.
It's as if the first 17 or maybe the first like 16 are like, here's what's happened in 25 years. And this is the return that's actually that we've been building up to. And him going, no, wait, I want to go back and do it. I want to do Twin Peaks again. And you're like, wait, dog, what? No, we had this whole thing going on. Like, we had 25 years of history and character and development. All these people had their stories cut completely short because it's Dale Cooper time and he needs to go back. And that's what matters. And I'm going to keep beating this drum because it's the version of this, like, understanding of the show that I like the most. But why did we want to go back? Why do we want reboots to happen? Why do we keep asking for reboots besides it makes money? Like, fans love, we just talked about The Mandalorian, Magellan, and how it's like, isn't Boba Fett cool? And it's like, yeah, but he's also a dude. Like, he's not that cool. Like, he's not what he was when you were 8 years old watching that movie. And like, what's the benefit of seeing like old ass Tamora Morrison coming back and doing that again? And I just, I'm going to think about the end of Twin Peaks: The Return for the rest of my life. And every time I watch a reboot, I think back to, why did we need to do this? Why did we need to dress up the characters again and do the theme song and feel nostalgia? Like, what's the benefit of nostalgia here? Because there is good things about nostalgia, you know? We learned and fleshed out a lot of things in the original Twin Peaks that didn't have time in that show in The Return. It is great to see characters age and like live their lives as old adults and all that. But also, they could have just done that. I didn't need a show about that. So Twin Peaks: The Return, in a way, unsells its own show, which is so fascinating, endlessly fascinating to me. Is it refutes its own existence by being like, why did we make this? I don't know why we made this.
And I think to synthesize that with what Ryan was saying, it's sort of like that reflection on why do we return to old media or whatever is this sort of prism through which we can think about like, why do we have certain parts of our lives that we treat a similar way? I think to a certain extent, I certainly probably share Dale Cooper's feelings at times of like, if I could have only made this choice at this time, right? Or if this one thing had been different, I know that everything else would have been better. And this show is like, is a counter argument to that of you can't go back and fix or change the one thing because there's something persistent and timeless about whatever it is or whoever you are that maintains across those like alterations or pokes at the linear logic of time. And so it's really fascinating to see this work as like the media criticism meta thing, the like look at yourself in a mirror thing, the in-universe lore of returning and time and the dark Judy and stuff thing. It's cool to see how many different layers are at play here with that one theme.
I actually don't think that this show is as mad about like reboots and stuff as you would think. Partly because like this was a completely natural like revival. Like they had an idea for a thing it almost didn't happen because who the fuck is going to like fund this weird ass show where like an atom bomb happens in the middle of it and it's like the origin of the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like this is definitely like a passion project for Lynch and Frost. I more view the ending as like the creators talking to themselves.
Yeah.
Like what is it about Twin Peaks that we had, like, why are we going back, right? Aside from Cooper, aside from doing all the fun Dougie stuff, you know, and like doing the Mr. C cool stuff, like what is it about? What is the core? Like we get the log lady saying Laura is the one, and it's like, well, what do we do with Laura that reflects that?
Yeah.
Or like what is it about Laura? Like how do we reframe the story to make it about Laura at a certain point? And when you start asking that question, that just naturally brings out like, well, Laura was an abuse victim, and then we just go down the line of like naturally like Cooper try to save Laura, etc. Like that is just, once you go down that train of thought, the only thing you can do is just write yourself into a hole where your main character like fundamentally does the wrong thing and alters history, and wisely like the show pushes back against that pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And just is just saying like, this is what Cooper is doing is not good, it's wrong, and we can't go back and do that.
Right.
I just, to me, like this is less about like the audience and more about Lynch and Frost like almost self-critiquing themselves at a certain point. Because it's just like, well, we brought back Twin Peaks, Laura is the one, we made Laura an orb, how do we end this thing? And we ended by going like, you know, is this worth it? Like, is like the top level, like Laura is the one who is going to destroy all evil, and that's what she was created for by the firemen, blah blah blah. That's not doing that in practice is bad. Like you can't just do that. Like you can't just take the story from Laura and just have her, put her in a different dimension and just have her be a different person and just yank her out of her existence and only bring her back when it suits her needs. That is just a fundamental wrong.
Right.
And so it just feels like the lore part of Twin Peaks and the thematic part of Twin Peaks are having a fight.
Yeah. Mom and dad are fighting.
And I find that dynamic fascinating.
Yeah.
Because like, especially like reading stuff from Frost, he pulls a lot from Greek mythology when it comes to Black Lodge stuff. And he definitely like views this as something out of a Greek myth, like somebody like flying close to the sun and just tempting the gods and having to pay the consequences because of that.
Can I talk about my big brain take right now?
Just because I'm going to forget my thing I was about to say.
Go
be so
ahead,
brief.
go ahead.
I love what you said there, Ryan, and I think that builds more on what I was trying to get at, which is it's less about like, why do you, the viewer, want this, and more like, why are we making this? Like Lynch and Frost have already said, like, I think we've told a lot of the story of Twin Peaks, and now we're self-critiquing, saying, well, why did we make this? Why do people keep making reboots? What's so appealing about them? But like, if you think about it, original Twin Peaks is also about why do we make stories about like horribly murdered women? Like both of these shows are about themselves and about their own premise. This one is saying, why do we make reboots? And that one's saying, why do we keep making shows about young girls who die? Like, what's the benefit of that? And who does it help? And the answer is it kind of doesn't. Like, we have interesting stories and life is short and we try to enjoy what we can. But at the end of the day, we're like kind of repeating ourselves a lot. But John, you have a bigger brain take about this and Greek myths.
This is a stupid take. It's a big brain stupid take. Ryan, I love everything that you said, and you talked about Greek myths. And okay, here's my video essay. It's called. Okay, this is the title of my video essay. It's "Waiting for Odysseus: Homecoming without a protagonist in Twin Peaks: The Return." Okay, so the town that he ends up in is called Odessa. Odessa, like the Odyssey.
It's fucked.
Okay.
It's fucked.
Twin Peaks: The Return is a deconstruction of the archetype of an Odyssey story where you're coming home, going through all of these encounters with strange and bizarre things that alternatively treat you in a hostile fashion or welcome you. And to a certain extent, weird shit's happening just because like weird shit is happening. And there's moments where the protagonist is like concealing his identity and revealing his identity, just like Odysseus did in the Odyssey. And the prevailing like preoccupation is this idea of going home and returning somewhere. But in the Odyssey, it's this like triumphant return that's weird because it involves Odysseus murdering a bunch of dudes, and then Athena's like, whoa, okay, let's have a happy ending here. And what's fascinating about The Return is that it's like giving us all the tropes of an Odyssey return story, except without the two most fundamental components of like, who the fuck is the protagonist and what do they want? And what is the home that we're even going to? Like, we're sort of enacting this archetypical story that we understand as the viewers, but there's this unease because like there's nothing for us to anchor ourselves to. Home is a very unpleasant place in Twin Peaks. And the closest thing we have to a protagonist, like someone whose journey we see nearly every episode, is who? Doppelcooper? Freddie? Gordon Cole? I don't know. So that's my brainstorm for a video essay that went off of the fact that the town was called Odessa. And then I was like, okay.
Magellan?
See. What?
I was hyperventilating the entire time because Mark Frost literally cites The Odyssey as being a big influence on season 3.
Yeah, let's go. I cracked the code.
He literally talks about Odysseus and The Odyssey.
Oh, fuck yeah.
In relation to Cooper.
3 seasons in, and Magellan made it. He solved Twin Peaks without the use of no video essay. He watched no.
That was all my own brain.
Yep.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. No, you got it. Mark Frost agrees.
Oh no, I don't want to be on Mark Frost's side. Okay, I have another big brain thing.
Okay.
That makes the whole number of completion thing matter.
Yeah.
So
that.
Cooper's like,
Man, we didn't even touch that.
73430. Yeah.
In Cooper's message through Bushnell to Gordon, he says the time is 2:53, the number of completion. And I was in the shower this morning, and I was like, wait, 253 adds to 10. It's the number of completion. 430 only adds to 7, and the last number is a 0. So we're like moving towards expecting completion, and all we get is a big old goose egg. It's a metaphor for the whole season. It ends in a confusing and unsatisfying blankness. 4-3, it should be 3, so it can be complete. No, 0. Oh my gosh. So if 253 is the number of completion, 430, the number of the return, is the number of incompletion.
Your local Christian person here to tell you that what's really fucked about that take is that in the Bible, the number of completion is 7.
Oh.
It's not even 10. It's 7. That's why it's a lucky number. So, flip that right on your head. Really makes you think.
Okay.
Did Cooper get the wrong number of completion?
Oh, maybe
was he only supposed to go 253 miles?
Yeah.
He went too far. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
I am so happy to watch a finale that turns the gears this much. This has been one of our most heady philosophical conversations ever on the podcast, and I love that. And I will forever cherish Twin Peaks: The Return for providing so much food and so much good crit potential that honestly, no other show can do this. It can't. Like, you don't make shows like this. This is like a once in a lifetime type of series. And shows can come close and they can do ideas like this and they can like bring back concepts like this, but like every other reboot can just pack it up at this point. Like, what are you doing? The Stand reboot on freaking whatever? Like, just 2 Weeks to Return.
Can I read this quote from Cheryl Lee about part 18?
Oh, please, yeah.
This is specifically about the scream at the end.
Ooh.
She says that there are still women who need to scream who are not allowed to scream. The statistics regarding violence against women are going up, not down. That is the scream.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not done yet. Like they're still out. Everyone's still out there. Beautifully done. Beautifully said, Cheryl Lee. Damn.
Yeah.
I think that's Twin Peaks: The Return, y'all.
I think so. Yeah.
I think we returned.
We did it. We made it.
I've like disassociated for the past half hour.
Yeah.
When you listen back, you'll
I'm like,
enjoy it.
whoa.
I don't even know
What if I'm podcasting? What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's why it's good that we have it on tape. So when you listen back, you can be like, "Oh, I really said some smart things."
Wait, sorry. I had two quick takes left in my notes here
Go
that
for
I
it.
didn't say. I mean, I think the first is just to build off what Ryan was saying about this being like a self-critical. Why are we making this? What's my role as a creator? Why am I fixated on this thing I created a while ago? Like Gordon Cole's much more prominent role in the season seems to be related to that to me. Like it feels like Gordon Cole's journey or character is very central to the return. And so that I think supports that sort of meta, like, what are we looking for? Why are we here? Literally, here I am in my own show, exploring those things.
He's the dreamer.
Well, is he the dreamer?
If he's the dreamer, then who's the dreamed? What? Hold on.
Whoa.
Dick.
And then...
Oh, wait. Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
When you're done, I got another big brain theory.
This is just small brain. Just Philip Jeffrey saying, "Did you ask me this?"
Yeah.
Also seems to indicate there's some sort of cyclical time thing going on, or something like we've been here before, or something's off with this. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. What's your big brain thing?
They go to reality in part 18. They go to the real world.
Bruh. What are you
Okay.
talking
Meet
about?
the actual owner of the Palmer house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Oh, I love that.
That was my first, when that was like one of my first reads on that too.
That's so
Like,
big brain.
They did the whole paparazzi thing with part 18 specifically. Like they had so many references to it in the real world before anybody knew that the show existed or like what the show was about, etc. Like it is and like there's like video, like Kyle MacLachlan like talked to fans and stuff who were like watching them. Like, you know, they did not hide this
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
So it's like, was that on purpose? Are we meant to think that they just crossed over into the real world and we're just taking real world Cheryl Lee and planting her here and just, you know, roll cameras, you know,
Right.
It's time to go.
Whoa.
Oh, it's all valid. That's what's so fun. It's there.
Because it's also a weighty thing for the real world actors to be returning to this
The
show.
house.
Like
The show,
it's I mean, I'm sure Cheryl Lee had like really fulfilling creative experiences, but also it was like a really, really deeply challenging and taxing role to play. And so there must be some level to which returning to being Laura Palmer is like a really difficult thing for her to do.
And like, she's barely in the show and like, look at how many times she's had to scream.
Right.
You know,
Whatever
my
she is, they
gosh.
make her scream and do very hard things. Yeah. We are actually not done with Twin Peaks just yet, folks.
No. We're going to get all the answers next week, which is going to be great.
Yeah, today is us
Oh,
playing
yeah.
the choose your own adventure book, and tomorrow is us skipping to the ending. Looking at the
So
answer sheet.
Ryan's going to do us a big favor and read Mark Frost's second Twin Peaks book, The Final Dossier. And we're going to have a little conversation about it next week. So you can look forward to that. And there's stuff in it, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and then we'll do our end of series recap as well, probably.
Yeah.
I'll come up with a bunch of questions to ask you guys.
Oh, great.
Have some fun. Have some fun with the end of PeaksChatz.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Awesome.
like so bittersweet that we're here.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I can now send a bunch of texts to Magellan about the end of Twin Peaks.
Please do. I can't wait.
But it does mean that we're wrapping up.
We're nearing the end.
Yeah. We'll just have to do the whole thing again in a couple years.
25. I'll see you in
I
25
dead
years.
ass was like, damn, I have to watch this again.
Yeah. Every time I finish it, I think the same thing. Or I'm like, all right, do I go season 1 or do I watch The Return only? And like how? Yeah. Every time.
I really, seeing us flashback in part 17 made me really want to watch original Twin Peaks again after having done all the watching and thinking through The Return. Like, does that change my
The problem is it kind of does, and you'll
experience?
have like really corrupt lore brain like I do, and you'll be like, did they say Judy? No, they just coughed.
I'll ask this again next week, but I want to ask Magellan only.
Okay.
Original Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me season 3, rank them.
Whoa.
Firewalk with Me, number 1.
Yep.
Original series or this? It's tough. I think the thing is, I don't know that I could tell you what the original Twin Peaks is about. Like, I feel like Firewalk with Me and The Return, I have a very clear sense of like what I'm taking from those things as works of art that have like themes and things that even whether or not it's like the intent of those things, I like interacted with them in a way where I took something away. And I don't think that was necessarily my experience in the same way with original Twin Peaks, because it's a lot messier and sort of changes its mind about things. But it's also, it's a lot more like comfortable to watch original Twin Peaks as opposed to The Return, which is like oftentimes very unpleasant. So what am I probably going to rewatch more in my life? Original Twin Peaks. What do I think is like a better thing that has more to say? Probably The Return is how I would categorize those things. And then to me, unambiguously, Firewalk with Me is like the most important and impactful piece of what is Twin Peaks.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
The same
Carrie Page. Fuck, I was trying to say it.
Okay.
Oh, Hawk says there's one more missing page, and is it Carrie Page? Who can say?
Holy
God.
shit.
Christ
Stop
almighty.
it.
Stop it. Quit it.
Oh my God. Stop it.
Ryan.
Oh, I
where can
really
people-
like that. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's true.
Where can people...
Her name's Carrie Page.
Oh, I have
literally
chills. What is happening? I have chills right now.
I want to... Mom, come pick me up. They're doing circuitous lore on Twin Peaks again.
Somewhere Mark Frost just like nodded.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Just like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
Wow.
Ryan, my dear sweet friend, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at BluestRose430. If you don't understand that username by now, I can't help you.
Yeah. I gave you all the clues.
Magellan, can you do the plug zone for us, please?
I surely can. You can get in touch with the show in a couple different ways. You can email us at chatspod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/chatspod, or @chatspod if you want to do things the Twitter way. And those are places where you can send us your questions, comments, feedback, suggestions, greetings, fond farewells, whatever you want to say to us in those places. You can join your fellow Chats listeners over at reddit.com/r/chatspod, where there are discussion threads on new and old episodes alike. And you can also join our Discord if you become a patron of Chat the Television Podcast. Anybody $1 and up gets access, non-revocable access to the Discord. So
You're
just
trapped.
$1 for 1 month. You're stuck in the server and you can't escape. You got to talk to us about, Star Trek and Bare Naked Ladies and all that sort of stuff. At $3 a month, you get access to thrice monthly bonus content, including episodes where we pilot potential shows for the main feed, sort of fun discussions on chats nights, and sometimes we do movie commentaries as well. And then $5 a month gets you thanked right here at the end of every episode. Our current $5 patrons are Arthur, Jen, my mom, Marcus, Nick and Pat of the Brothers of Infinite War, Infinite Celestial War. I didn't know we were adding the Celestial in there. That's fun. I like that. Fendon, Six, and Stefan. And of course, you can support us by rating us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or, I don't know, wherever you find podcasts, your podcast catcher of choice. You can visit our website at chatspod.com where we've got some cute, fun little Easter eggs. And then big ups to @Camillastrator, Camilla, for our podcast art. Check her out on social media as well. Cool.
You running down the stuff reminded me that we need to finish our character ranking.
Oh, should we do that next week?
Can we punt that to
As
next
part
week?
of it?
Yeah.
I still have the image on my desktop.
Perfect.
So we can literally just plug in and go.
Perfect. So you'll see the stunning conclusion to the Twin Peaks character tier list as well next week. What a nice little addition.
Spoiler alert, Judy gets Who's Annie.
Judy is on there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Thank God.
All right. So the last thing that we do here is we share our chatsums, which are media or life recommendations that you can snack on between now and next time. Ryan, do you have a chatsum for us?
I can do a rechatsum. I've been playing a ton of Elden Ring.
Yes.
And I'm having way more fun than I thought. And I'm in a Discord server with a bunch of folks, and we are kind of helping each other through the game, giving each other tips and stuff like that. So my chatsum is play games with friends. It's super fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Having a ton of fun. Just being in the Elden Ring bubble and just like talking about the game with a bunch of people. So
I love it. Alan, what about you?
And you can do that without Elden Ring. You can do a game club. You can do a book club. You can do anything. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to start a book club.
Whoa. Controversial.
Is like a thing,
I would join a book club.
but I don't know who would join, and I don't know what books to read.
I would read the final dossier with you in a book club for a second time. You're reading it a second time. I'm just offering. Alan, chatsum.
Huh? Fuck. I also fell into a fugue state briefly. You know what I recommend people look into if you care about how things are made? If you haven't seen it already, have I chatsomed the Sweatbox? I don't know if I have.
I don't know what that is, so maybe not.
Probably not. But I'm gonna check just in case. So while I rechatsum it, if it's a rechatsum or first time chatsum, the Sweatbox is a documentary about the making of the Emperor's New Groove.
Stop it.
Oh, not that. I did not expect where that sentence was going to go.
I could not have guessed in a million years.
Yeah, it's awesome. So it's Disney tried taking this down. It was like a really controversial documentary because The Emperor's New Groove was not supposed to be like an hour 20. It was going to be there was way more like lore, like real life history stuff and like way more art, and it was going to be like way longer and have like way more different plot lines, and it got shaved down and edited down into this like David Spade comedy vehicle, children's movie classic. And it's called The Sweatbox because some of the conditions of the animation studio were not great, if you can't guess already. Also, Sting was going to have a way bigger role in it. He was like going to do the whole soundtrack, and then he did like a song for it. It's a really great example of like how you can like disassemble the way something you remember from your childhood was made, or something that you remember as being really good and being like, well, actually, a lot of bad things happen to make it that way it is. So I recommend it if you can find it. It's on like archive.org. It's not even available anywhere else.
This feels like a shitpost, but it's real.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, there's a hidden version of Emperor's New Groove out there.
Yep.
Wild.
Yep.
That's funny.
And Disney kept taking it down, so they had to. It's like you have to dig through the internet to find it. It's great.
Wow.
I watched the first half of it, and I was like, I'm in. I'm fully in. Did everybody do their chatsums?
I didn't do mine.
Magellan, what's your chatsum this week?
Last night I went to a concert
Oh my
that
God.
was very special to me. What was that voice?
I said, "Oh my God," and Siri said, "All right then."
As listeners of chats and our Patreon content know, my favorite band when I was in high school was Bare Naked Ladies. And last night I had the opportunity to see Stephen Page, formerly of Bare Naked Ladies, live in concert. And he played many of my favorite songs of all time. And it was a very moving experience. So I'm chatsuming City Winery, which was the venue. I'm chatsuming Stephen Page, the act of seeing him live, because he's a very silly guy and a great singer. And I'm chatsuming his solo albums. So Page 1, the Heal Thyself Part 1 and Part 2, those albums. Check this guy out. He does some fun stuff, and I'm a big fan of Stephen Page and of the experience I had last night. And I'm also chatsuming Blackened Shrimp Cobb Salad that came out during the third verse of Jane, which is my favorite song of all time. So imagine I'm listening to Jane, I'm near tears, and the blue cheese is hitting my tongue. It was phenomenal. So there you go. Those are my chatsums.
God bless, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Ryan for being
To being Ryan.
to being the friend to
Yeah.
me. And thank you to Magellan for being the other friend to the other me. Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Wait.
Hold on.
There's two of them?
Oh wait, can I sneak in a secret other chat zone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it is from the YouTuber Take the Ring. It is a small documentary on the Laura Palmer house, and he interviews the owner, and she talks about filming for season 3. And she lets people into the home and lets people tour and stuff.
Whoa.
And she talks about connecting with the fans and seeing their various reactions to being in the Palmer house. It's really nice. And yeah, she also has an interview in Laura's Ghost, which Magellan can now read.
Yes, thank you to both of you. I love you very much, and I love you for listening this far into this 2-part meaty beef week of Peaks Chats. Take care. Thank you for listening. And that was the Damn Fine Podcast.